Hello, readers. Mr. Laval here. Want to talk about our mini lesson for the day for reading class. We're going to continue our work with conflict and realistic fiction. And again, conflict is a way of thinking of a struggle or a battle that takes place between characters. Again, it involves the main character. The main character has a goal and they're after something, and in realistic fiction books, something is in the way. Something is trying to stop that main character from accomplishing their goal. So we're going to dive into conflict a little bit deeper. Today's mini lesson is going to be on internal versus external conflict. Say internal on three. 1, 2, 3. Say external on three, like you're underwater on three. 1, 2, 3. All right, let's talk about internal and external conflict. Let's focus on what internal means first. Internal means inside. And internal conflict is when a character is battling their own emotions, their own feelings, or a decision about the right thing to do. Okay, so and an internal conflict happens inside of a character, and they're kind of going back and forth about something that they are troubled with. You know, what's the right move to make? What's the right decision? Maybe they're feeling guilty. So it's about emotions, and it's within a character. External means outside. And external conflict is when a character is up against another force. So it could be another person. It might be the character is against the weather. Maybe it's a hurricane or a tornado. That's external conflict. Or it could be the person, the main character is against society or the town or a set of beliefs. That's external conflict. All right, when we look at a couple of examples about internal and external conflict, I picked some read aloud books that we read in class this year. And I created a chart. And actually, this is what I want you to do in your notebook today. Is you're going to create this chart, and you're going to, on one side, put internal conflict, and on one side, put external conflict. And for the books that you're reading at home and in your own virtual reader's workshop, I want you to keep track of the conflict that you're finding. If you find examples of internal conflict, write it in this column. If you find examples of external conflict, write it in this column, and keep track of the conflict that you're noticing in the books that you're reading at home. So when we look at some of the books we read this year, under internal conflict, I put Peak. Peak has some internal conflict. He has a conflict inside of himself. And the big example of the internal conflict is when he makes the decision to let Sunjo go to the summit, right? He's thinking about the right thing to do. He really wants to go up there. He wants to become the youngest kid ever to reach the summit of Mount Everest, but he decides that it would be better if Sunjo has that experience. And so here he is 100 feet away. He makes that decision. He does not summit. He lets Sunjo summit. That was internal conflict of what was the right thing to do. When we look at the book Swindle, Ben, Griffin's best friend, he doesn't like Griffin's plans all the time. But when he realizes that Griffin's family is selling their house and Griffin might move away, he battles inside of what's the right thing to do. Should I follow Griffin's plan, even though I don't always love it and he gets us in trouble? But if I don't help Griffin out, he might move away and I might miss my best friend or never see him again. So he battles with that decision of if he should help Griffin or not, even though he's uncomfortable, right? So that's internal conflict that Ben is going through. When we look at external conflict, it's outside conflict, right? Person versus person, Swindle. Griffin and his team against Palomino, good guy versus bad guy. Look at the book No Talking that we read earlier in the year by Andrew Clements. It's an external conflict, the boys versus the girls. Who can talk less? Who can win the contest, right? There's that competition going on between two groups. And then if you think back to the beginning of the year, we read that great book, Goosed. We have TP, the main character, the dog, versus Mocha. And they're kind of battling throughout the book, right? Mocha annoys TP. TP's kind of mad and mean to Mocha, and they go back and forth. And at the end, they become friends. But there's a lot of external conflict between those characters. So think about the conflict that exists in your book, internal and external, and make a chart like this in your notebook and start recording it. Thanks, readers. Have fun today.